Ready to go?
Yep.
Hello there, Ben Rainey.
How you doing, mate? You alright?
I'm alright, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks, bro.
Thanks for doing this.
No problem, mate.
So let's rewind the time. Where would we have first met?
Oh, we are going down that route, aren't we? So you will have been in Sugar Mill with your top off, and it's not what it sounds like. So we was doing House of Tequila at Position at that point. I'd kind of just been DJing for about a year, and obviously, you know, I'd heard you do your research. I knew he was DJing where, and I'd heard about Tom Watky, the handsome Spice Boy, does Fuel, does Sugar Mill and all this.
Yeah, it was
got a bit of dough, got a bit about him, all this. Yeah. So I'm thinking, right, we're gonna have to go check this out. And it was at a point where I want DJing every weekend, so obviously I still had time to go check everyone out and what they were doing. So we'd come in, and I think I was with Carl Black and Scott Eastburn, probably Tom Bowden at the point.
Yeah, it was,
obviously this story elaborates a lot into what we're all doing now, but at that point we was, you know, coming to check it out and stuff. Walk into the main room of Sugar Mill, peak time, Macklemore, Kite Holders, there he is in all of his prime, Tom Watky, top off, bouncing. And to be fair, I just thought, wow, that energy's mad, because I'm quite, believe it or not, shy, like especially when I'm DJing. I'm very I was speaking to someone else about this the other day. Like, I have a battle in my head, like when I play a track, like, is this the right thing? You know, a bit of anxiety, I guess.
That's one thing that I noticed about you from transition from when I'd first ever I've seen you at Position.
Yeah.
You know, your controller and things like that. Head down, focused on mixing itself. Even when you was adjusting to CDJs. Yeah. The transition to you, you know, especially the music change as well, when you started really falling in love with the music that you was playing, you was just giving it the big licks constantly.
I think that's what it is as well, because sometimes, like, I always say this to people when I'm telling them, like, explaining how to get into it, it's like, express yourself, whereas at first I probably was the most boring DJ talk, because obviously you are concentrating that much on your mixing, whereas now it's almost like, without sounding, you know, cocky or anything, the mixing's just second nature. It's like driving your car. You don't think about what gear you're going into. You just it's muscle memory now, innit? So like, I feel like I can mix comfortably on any level, like from basic mixing to like quick mixing. If you told me to mix 10 tracks in a minute, I could do it. So now I have chance to, I do express myself. And I remember walking in there, and you was just flying. And I think, was it with Gaz? Carl King.
I think it may have been Carl King, yeah.
Yeah. So you was. There was two of you DJing, and you was on the thingy, and to be fair, you had them in the palm of your hands. I don't know if it was just like people admiring you or people thinking what an idiot or what, but I thought,
I was a lot younger as well, a lot fresher, involved.
How many years ago was that now?
So that must have been around 2014, 15
so
time.
Six
years
about
ago.
That's about as long as I've been doing it. So yeah, I'd have been fresh out the block at that point.
So what was so how did you start DJing? Where was the beginning?
It's always a mad question. I think, you know me and my family, so it's always very musical. Not musical as in like no DJs in the family, but you know, like yourselves, you know, like Frank's family, you know, we all get educated by what our parents listen to. So I was always like brought up on like soul, disco, funky house, old school house, and then I guess going to parties as you get into like 18, 19s, and you're flicking through you're fighting for the aux cable. I was the king of the aux cable, and for some reason people didn't contest it. They just let me do it, and I just remember one day thinking, it'd be cool if I could actually mix these. And I started going out and seeing other DJs. So it just kind of, it was one of them, you know, them things in your head where when you see someone do something, you think, oh man, having a go at that. Oh man, having a bit of that.
And it looks cool as well.
And it looks cool. And I thought, but in my head, I'm quite, like I say, I am quite anxious, but I'm also what's the word? I doubt myself.
Yeah.
There's a lot of self-doubt. So it's kind of, I'll have a night, I massively procrastinate. So like, I'll have crazy ideas in my head for a day, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to smash that, do that, motivate myself. But then I talk myself down from it, because I'm like, I can't do that. I'm just a little Benji, you know what I mean? I can only do so much. I'll just do my thing. I'll just stay in my lane. And then I just, somehow managed to go for it. And it took a while, you know. I remember getting some decks and just thinking, fuck am I doing with these?
Yeah.
You allowed to swear?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I remember thinking, what am I doing with these? Like, the frustration just, you know, I didn't even know where to get the music from. I was using like software I can't even remember the name of now. It wasn't like industry standard anything, just a really cheap like little controller. And I
remember the videos of you doing it, and like I think it was in a garden or something like that. You were doing any little parties and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, I started because obviously you're the same as me, rugby background.
Yeah.
Which is weird because we never really, I don't think we ever knew each other from rugby, did we?
No.
So you was Norland, weren't you? And I have played for Norland as well, but I was more West Hull. So through that, you know, the first thing, and I'm not sure what you might be able to speak about this as well. It's obviously when it first came about, oh, Ben's DJing, Tom's DJing, people are like taking the piss a bit.
Yeah.
You know, you go through that whole phase of having to prove yourself.
Well, I think it wasn't a cool thing as well. Like when we started out DJing, there wasn't very many in the city for a start. So.
I mean, as well, it probably wasn't that it wasn't cool. It wasn't that it was normal as much, like normalized. Like it wasn't like everyone, like there's a lot of, it's pretty saturated now. Not in a bad way, but it's very saturated, especially in Hull, which is great that other people are doing it. But when we did it, who was the, like, of that age doing it? There was no one
that's
really,
why
was it?
you had like the main commercial nightclubs having their residents that were there for like 10, 15 plus years.
And I guess we all, in a sense, put pressure on them because we came through, and you know, there was, and there probably still is, divides between some of us and older DJs, and we've had it before. We've had battles. Not me personally, you know, I respect everyone.
There was serious politics.
There was some politics involved, and I think that was more because they probably felt pressured that this young generation are coming through, and they hadn't felt that before. No. But I remember, like, when I first started doing it alongside rugby, it was like I'd play rugby on the Saturday, and then I'd go and DJ at one of the lads' houses. Just like there'd be 20 lads there with the missuses and the kids and that, and it was a bit like, looking back, it was, I don't know, it was, I'd never change it, but it was almost like I cringe at myself doing it because I think, it's not cringe at the fact that I was there because I'd have been there anyway, but I just think like that was like playing at Wembley to me. That was my dream. Like I was more bothered about that than I was the game on the afternoon, and I'd spend all week, you know, preparing playlists, SoundCloud, finding tracks, and then it just, that happened. And then obviously I got introduced to Tom Bowden, Scott Eastburn, who obviously we've both worked with for a long time, and things went crazy from the first House Tequila event, really. And I always now, and this is what I always say to people, like, you know, no matter what career you're in, when it becomes your job and money's involved, you know, you can lose the passion sometimes, and the fire stops burning as strong. You know, we're in different positions whereas I went a route of going full time quite quickly and just wanting to DJ all the time, whereas you're very fortunate to have a good career and a good job from off the back, on which I wish in a sense I did have that, because once I started doing it full time and for money, you know, I didn't feel like I sold my soul. But you are playing music you're not particularly passionate about. I'm lucky that I've grinded through it and brought myself to a point now where people are going to pay me to play the music I want to play, and respect that. And you know, I've earned that level of respect where I can play what I want. But there was years where, you know, I was playing, you know, Macklemore, which you was doing. You've been there, but at the same time, you could have quite easily not. You didn't need that money. No. Whereas at the time, I'd be honest with you, I wouldn't say I needed that money, but I made that my income. You know, I did have another job before that. I left that to do this.
It takes serious bollocks to do that.
It does, and I think at the time, obviously, I was that excited. It didn't matter what I was playing, it didn't matter where I was playing, and to be honest, it didn't matter how much I was getting. I'd play 7 nights a week for 20 quid if I could. You know, I just wanted to DJ, and then I think that actually grinded my excitement down. But what I always think of and say is, like, I always have to look back to that first gig at Position. You know, you're talking 1,500 people there. Instagram and stuff was around, but it wasn't what it is now. You won't have a full crowd on the phone, would you? You'd have the odd person with a flash on, but you'd wait for the album to come out. Remember, like, the Position photos,
totally agree.
You know, we had Thomas, didn't we, doing them promo videos, and we all buzzed off it. Whereas now, the rate of turnover, like we've just been saying before we started rolling, the rate of turnover in content and videos and social media, it's that quick now. People's attention spans, you know, gone like that. It's done. And where as guilty as anyone. So I look back to that time and I treasure that memory, and I can remember everything from meeting you and some of the times we've had together. You know, at one point we saw each other more than we saw our own girlfriends, didn't we?
Yeah, totally.
And I look at all these times, all these memories. I remember when we went to pick you got a new car, the Audi, remember the white one? And we dropped the TT off and we had our tunes, and I had my laptop on the way back. I was like, oh, we'll play this tonight, we'll play this. And it was like, you just look back at that and I think, no matter what changes or what happens, you know, that's what we got in it for. So remember why we started, kind of thing. No matter where we're at now, what we're both doing differently and what everyone else is doing, remember why we all started, and it was for passion, you know.
Yeah. So the main transition that you had, that I remember, so you went from doing the House Tequila tech vibes, even though it was House Tequila, you were still honing in on what your own individual sound was, like your soul funk sound, bringing a bit of house involved.
I definitely always went more of what most people would see as commercial, but then I guess now, if I look back, it was kind of always old school vocal stuff. It was never like, I wouldn't be playing like Calvin Harris and stuff. I'd be playing like, you'd like Space Cowboy, David, what was Dennis Farah, Hey Hey.
Yeah, but I used to go for that. No one else our age
was doing it, was there? And I think, to be honest, now it's probably more popular than anything. But I think that was just because I enjoyed it, and it probably did at the time help me because no one was really doing it, but people knew, people could recognise it. And I think even kids our age were thinking, I know these tunes, you know, like Dreamer, even Free From Desire before it became a bit of cheesy, you know. Mm-hmm. It was at one point just a 90s classic, and now it's just been butchered by, what's his name, Will Grigg or something.
Yeah, I think that's what as well, going back to the House Tequila time, I think that is what made House Tequila so good for the people on the dance floor. It's because everyone was so different.
You had Techno Viking Hawks, you had you and Carl playing absolute stompers, you had Jack doing his like melodic kind of thing. Yeah,
so it just worked really well, and I think that's again why House Tequila was so successful. I mean, 1,000+ people turn up every month.
Yeah.
So you went from your House Tequila, and then I remember I was still doing Sugar Mill at the time, and I remember that's when you started getting involved with more of the Sugar Mill side of things.
Yeah.
So how did you find that transition going from playing, you know, basically to a proper house audience
to a more
commercial side of things?
Well, yeah, it definitely goes from playing an hour of what you want to 3 or 4 hours of what they want. But I guess I generated a bit of a rule from people experienced who told me, like, play 2 for them, 1 for yourself. So it'd be like, I'd play 2 pretty commercial tunes, which I didn't mind, you know. I think if, you know, there's a lot of, especially in your network of people, there's a lot of underground, you know, cool cats, what I'd class as. They're educated on the music, they love the music, and that's great. I respect that. You know, I'm educated on my music from soul to Motown to disco, even to like tech and modern and even chart stuff, because I have to be. But one thing I will say is, you know, don't become a bit of a snob to any kind of music. Music's music, it's diverse. People like different things. We could sit here for an hour and say how we both hate EDM. I'm not particularly a fan of it, but I've still got to respect them guys doing it, and that's the difference. You know, they respect what you do, because they could turn around and go, well, techno's just very repetitive, which in a sense it is. But if you appreciate that and respect that music and you like it, that's up to you.
It's definitely a good way to be.
Yeah, and I think I've never been like that. So obviously I was playing quite commercial, but I still enjoyed the energy that it was giving me. But it was definitely something that I think to any young DJs is like, I don't feel like I was being true to myself. And I don't know what you think about it when we was both doing Sugar Mill, you know. Great club. We've probably got, as friends, we've probably got our best memories in that building.
I would say for me, doing Sugar Mill was more from an ego perspective. It was just massaging that. It was
and it was the place to be, wasn't it? And like, you know, we was young kids in that main room. Especially me, I was a lot younger than you, and I'm thinking, you know, at this point, and we were speaking before the podcast, you know, not gonna lie, I was single. You know, that was the place I wanted to be, and it's like you say, I was rubbing my back ego wise, and it was getting me in a place where I felt confidence. The anxiety was disappearing and stuff. But then obviously when that kind of honeymoon period ends, I did eventually realise maybe this in the music and the place I want to be. And like yourself, you know, we've both gone on to do different things, which probably leads on to like the next chapter of where we went after that.
Yeah, totally agree. So from an individual perspective, so you did all the Sugar Mill stuff. Like you did a few of the bars in the town and things
Old
like
town
that.
stuff,
Yeah, and then you started transitioning to going like out of town.
Yeah,
and
Leeds,
you was getting more popular in Leeds. And so how was that transition going from Hull, and then, you know, you got a totally different crowd?
Do you know what? That was the best thing and the worst thing that happened to me, in terms of, you know, being honest with myself, I guess. You've gone from playing in your local town and, you know, your friends are out every weekend, to now you're playing in a big city and you don't know anyone, but, you know, you're playing to weekly on a Tuesday. I was playing Tuesdays and Thursday nights to 1,000+ students who were absolutely having it. You know, like, we're not talking the difference between a Saturday night in your hometown to a Tuesday and Thursday, where students are fresh out the box. You know, they're engaged, they're probably, you know, on substances. We won't go too far into that, but they're probably off the cake and they're absolutely loving it. And it was like I was in the Wild West by that point, which was incredible. But then it also kind of brought me back down to earth when I came home, and I felt like I could see the real. I think you only know what you know. There's a lot of people, you know, who live in Hull and go out around Hull every weekend. And I said, have you been to Leeds? Have you been to Manchester? And I'm like, no. But Hull's the best thing. You know, they'll happily go to like Attic every weekend now, or Piper. And that's great. You know, I still have great nights in there. But you've got to go and see the bigger picture. And I think when I saw the bigger picture, I almost, I don't know what the word is. I just kind of didn't appreciate my hometown as much, because I felt like we was lacking. And I know people in general probably would say, you know, Hull's a bit further behind Leeds and Manchester, which is probably a fact. You know, we can all admit that. And totally, you know yourself with events, you know, things that you're probably doing now and people you're booking. There might have been someone in Leeds doing that 2 or 3 years ago before there was hot, but still pumping the numbers through the gates, you know. And that's no disrespect to you or me. It's we've got to cater to what's in front of us in this city. So I went to Leeds, and like that opened a whole new dimension to me. And like I said, lucky enough to become like pretty popular in Leeds and play at like some of the biggest clubs and support some big names and build my own brand. But then it kind of crumbled what I was doing in Hull with the because I was still doing like commercial stuff in Hull on a weekend, playing very credible on a Tuesday and Thursday night in like Mission, Leeds, Space, Leeds, Fibre, 3 of the biggest clubs in Leeds and the best clubs, and for the biggest brands, the biggest night. So it almost became, my weekends were like, it was like my week was like that, and I kind of felt like I was dropping down. That's when I realised, this isn't necessarily where I want to be. But on the weekend, it was, there was nowhere really for me to go and play the credible music at the time. So that's where I fell.
That's one thing that I noticed. So from, just doing Hull gigs and playing for Hull crowds, the transition of going to Leeds, I found that the crowds were just so different. So the music that I was playing for the Hull people, the Leeds people weren't liking. And
vice versa. Like, I feel like as well, like, when you saying earlier about like I play like some old school stuff, I feel like what I was playing in Hull, I was touching the surface on the old school. I wasn't digging into the crate and going deep into like stuff which only like, I won't say educate people, but no, but like, you'd only know if you was bang into that. I wasn't playing commercial old school. I was playing like in Leeds. I could play, more of a retro old school stuff, which like pure 90s, where it'd be like garage classics. It wouldn't be like Flowers, or it wouldn't be like, do you really like it? It wouldn't be anything like that. I'd be playing like old school B-sides and stuff, and they'd get it. And I think the diversity in Leeds was just like, it just opened my eyes. But then I was coming back, and it was almost feeling like a bit of a crash, like a bit of a come down kind of feeling, because I was having to like go back onto the surface and play stuff which I've been playing now for like 2, 3, 4 years. And I think that's another thing, is when you do residencies and you do the same clubs, the repetitive cycle and keeping your sets fresh is the hardest bit. Like I see lads that, there's lads in Hull now. You've got your boys with illicit. How many times a month would you say you're playing? 2 or 3 max?
Yeah. Probably.
And obviously you've got your locals, Deja Vus, which is maybe once, twice a month. I'm playing 4 times a week minimum. Right, I've slowed down now, and we'll get into that, but. At this point, I'm probably playing 4 or 5 times a week. I was a machine, like I was playing everywhere, and it's done my brand very well. But at the same time, it actually did myself worse, because I'm playing the same tracks, you're digging into the same folders, you're playing the same histories, you're going through the same motions every night. That repetitive cycle, and that's when it became a job and a task to go to work, rather than, hang on a minute, and I lost that energy, that excitement. So I had to like curb it in a bit over the last year or so.
So keeping on the music side of stuff, so then you started having a transition to I think you was doing a little bit of music production during that time, but it wasn't as serious as maybe what it is now. So how did you find going from the DJ booth to the studio?
That was the bit where I probably wanted to chuck it, because it's difficult. Yourself, mate. Like even now, like we're not experts, and it's going to take years, and you can't put. I don't think you can put a limit or a time on how long it's going to take or when it's going to take. But I think my understanding over the last 2 years has gone to a level where I feel like I can now, not only get my tracks how I want them, but educate a little bit. But when I first started, it was like this whole DJing thing seemed like I said a bit earlier about like anxiety and self-doubt. That was like one big thing, and I was just conquering that. And then I'm realising that there's this whole new world.
You're starting right from the start again.
But the thing is, it's say the DJing pool's 10 foot deep. The production one, we're talking a million foot deep. Like it's a never-ending ball game, isn't it? You can take that as far, or as you can touch on it if you want. And I think with that, simplicity is key. I don't play the piano. I don't play anything, but I soon realised that there's tools out there. Like we've spoke about stuff like chord finders and stuff. This software nowadays, you can do and be anything you want behind a laptop or a computer.
You don't need to know skills or anything that. Able to
and it's almost for the purists and stuff. It's like DJing when they talk about sync and the technology and the record box software and all this vinyl DJ. It's probably the same with production. Like the purists who only use analog and all this kind of stuff, they probably hate it. But at the same time, it enables people like me with modern day, creatives to not cut the corner, but do it our own way. And we've learned, like we've probably both been producing maybe like 2, 3, 4 years maybe maximum now, alongside obviously DJing, doing other jobs and fitting it into our lifestyles. So what we've actually learned in that period of time is due to the advancements of technology and how far we can take it due to what's available to us. So I've just found like with production, it's massively benefited me from DJing, because your ears work how you've downloaded a tune and then you play it in the club and it sounds crap. So I've managed to use that as like a reference. Like I can pick up the faults in a track and I can hear like certain things like, oh, that's going to sound like, if it's a really beefy mix and you can tell it's like way louder than it should be, like over compressed, limited, whatever.
Yeah.
I can tell that. I won't even download it now. Whereas 3 or 4 years ago, I was probably playing them tracks out.
Yeah.
So I think that's helped in that way. But then the one thing that's, as much as, there is tools out there, the one thing that's probably slowed me down is my lack of theory.
Yeah.
We've spoke about it before a few times about like piano lessons and stuff, and it has slowed me down, but I'm doing it my way, and I've got ways around it, sampling, using MIDI samples, whatever it may be, using tracks as reference, you can drop in tracks now and create like a bass line from, you can do all sorts.
Yeah, there's a few things that people think of as taboo when really it's not. Like sampling's an art in itself.
Yeah.
Using specific plugins that give you the correct key and give you the correct scale and things like that.
Well,
are all there to help you.
I used to think like the first few tracks I did, I was literally straight out of sample packs. Like I was using bass samples, full on like wavs, like dropping them in. I was EQing them and fitting them in the mix, but I wasn't technically, designing sound or anything. And then I went through this process of, right, it's all got to be organic, and realised it was taking me 8 weeks to make a tune. And then I was like, right, let's meet in the middle somewhere, put my own stamp on it, but using samples. And I think that's, like you say, it's an art in itself, and that's where I find myself. Like most of the stuff I make now, there will be a big sample in it, but I've manipulated that sample the way I wanted to. And I think and some of the biggest tracks out there are sampled,
So,
a lot of them are, to be honest.
Even the ones that say they don't.
And the ones that you think, the ones that think you do. The thing is, there's a thing on, you've probably seen it, it's like is it a meme? Is it a meme or meme? I used to say memo, but it's meme, innit? So there's a meme before, and it was like,
and call it meme.
yeah, it's the meme, innit? So there was a theory, and it was like, it was a guy saying I don't use samples, and then the guy said back to him, so what do you do? Do you like sample and it was going all the way down to how far you'd have to go to actually fully organically sample a sound, like getting I think it was like a cow skin and hitting it with a drum cymbal and recording that. And it's like, you're not going to do that, are you? You're going to pull a sample out of a sample pack. Granted, you're going to twist and turn that distortion, whatever you're going to use, EQ, compression, to make that sample sound the way you want it, but you're still using a sample.
And people that, it's one thing that the electronic industry has been slated for, but for ever since I started doing it, whenever you mention it to somebody and you say about, I produce electronic music, they say it's just sampling. Yeah. If anyone's listening to this, just YouTube Oasis samples and you'll see some straight away. Yeah. All Oasis stuff.
That's another thing is what, so obviously, like I said, I love disco and I love like 80s groove, kind of like, Jocelyn Brown, Luther Vandross, Alexander O'Neill, all that kind of stuff. What I found was, so I think, this is original material. You dig deeper into that and you're going like, who sampled? They've probably sampled like a 60s salsoul track or even deeper, and then it goes deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and it's like, it's never ending circle, mate. You just got to use what you want and make it work for you.
So what music do you like producing at the minute?
Like funky old school house kind of thing, like big stabs, like low stepper kind of vibes at the minute. Yeah, really jacking stuff.
I'd seen that your idol MK.
MK, yeah.
Had a feature in his Spotify
soft spot in my heart, right?
Yeah. So going on to that subject, who were like your inspirations from a music side? Music production
side? Yeah. Well, yeah, MK definitely. Because I love pianos, but I have a battle with pianos, and you probably get this as well. So the minute you say piano house, people presume massively commercial, Yeah. But then you look at someone like MK, Low Stepper, Sonny Fodera, very credible, technically underground artists that all clean up with pianos. And I think that it's only now, like I say, I've managed to learn enough about production to do things the way I want to do. I actually feel like I can produce that the credible sound of piano. You've got like Tommy Vassetti's and people like that who are doing really good piano tunes, like Left Wing Cody, the I Feel It tune that's just gone global.
It's Tool Room.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Tool Room. And like, is it Vice? What's that song? Feel My Needs.
Yes.
Yeah. So you've got tunes like, I was gonna say Feel My Knees there, because I've been used to saying Feel My Knees. So like tunes like that, like they've become they become commercial, but they're technically, pretty credible and underground. So I'm finding now I can zone into that, and it's not about, what I realise is as well with stuff like that is it's not necessarily about the pianos, because pianos sound, I still make them the same. It's the drums and the atmosphere you create around that. Like I'm maybe using like really clean drums where they are commercial sounding, whereas now if you use your dirty 909s, 808s, really distort things, you get that vinyl old school feel, and that's how I'm getting to that. So yeah, sorry, a massive tangent there. In answer to your question, production wise, yeah, MK, Sonny Fodera. I used to love Shadow Child. Remember when he was knocking out Best Be Believing, all them kind of stuff, yeah. That kind of stuff. And Trying to think who else really. I like a guy called Kid Krem who's like a 90s producer. He did like a remix of Shakedown at Night, and it was like
banging tune.
Pure funky. Yeah, it's pure funky house, like just that kind of vibe. But I'm still getting onto that, like that old school funky house. Like that's what I'm learning myself at the minute. Because you've got to try and, like I say, I'm using samples and stuff, but you still got to try and find it to sound like the old school, which is what I'm finding most difficult at the minute.
Okay, so one thing that's always had me invested in you is your social networking side of things. So it's always been absolutely bob on.
I'm a keyboard warrior.
Yeah, so when you take into consideration your history DJing, you've really built yourself up, and then you got into playing in Leeds and you've really built yourself up there, and then it got into the music production scene and you was making music. And so what helped bring everything to the forefront was your social media backing and your presence on there, which is, especially in this day and age,
it's massive. It's everything, isn't it?
So what makes you, from a social media side, different to everyone else? What's helped you get to that next level?
Do you know what? I'm going to be brutal and say, just like, do you know, when I see some people on Facebook, I just think, have a day off, you're boring, like, do you know, because they just go so deep into things. Yeah. Whereas if things that me and you have been tagged in the past pop up now, it was never serious. I was never, like, if we was DJing in Sugar Mill, I'd never be like, me and Tom Watkinson, catches 12 till 3, we're going to blow the roof off new tracks. You know, when you hear this kind of like radio, it's like a radio jingle, like, you can catch me DJing at Sugar Mill from 12 till 3. I've never been that guy. I've just been like, me and our kid are dropping some bangers in Sugar Mill. If you're about, come have a bevy. And I think that resonates with people because it's genuity. That's the way I talk. That's who I am. Like, I don't put on a false persona on social media, and I think that's always helped me. Sometimes I think I'm a bit scruffy online, like maybe I should be a bit more professional, but I think people buy into the personality rather than what you're actually saying. Like, I'll read some DJ stuff, like they'll post on a Saturday night about where the gig is, and I think, is that a gig that you're advertising, or are you writing a novel?
Prime example is someone called Paul Fisher.
Paul Fisher?
Fisher.
Oh, Fisher, yeah.
So he is
the maddest guy you've ever met. And look how many people are invested in him. He don't give a shit, does he? Like,
yeah, and so it's not literally just keeping it professional, keeping it uptight, which sometimes I can do a bit too much. But, you know, it's just let himself go. He is who he is, and I think that's...
He acts himself,
I'm not saying that you mirror that type of thing, because you don't.
No.
You're not.
In a sense, though, it's that attitude of... It's the same attitude, it's the same ethos, I'm not off my head like him, but at the same time, I don't think about it too much. And like, even when I put anything, 9 times out of 10, if I post something, I don't read it back, I don't think about it. Obviously, sometimes, you know, there's been times when I have overthought things and thought, I've got to post at 7 o'clock tonight and stuff, and being like that, and it doesn't work for me. I'm off the cuff. Like, I could take a photo today of us two, and I'll just post it. I won't be, whereas a lot of people I know, it's got to be 7 o'clock because the algorithm. Bullshit, mate. Just post it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it sounds brutal, and some people are probably going to think, he's like, that might be like a bit, what's the word? Like, I don't think it through, but I think that's just worked for me, and I'm not saying everyone should do that, but I just don't like being serious online.
The other benefit to your social network game is how professional everything looks.
Yeah.
You've really, so for example, okay, so I want to get a logo made.
Yeah.
You've invested in time and energy into learning how to do it yourself instead of having to rely on someone else to do it for you.
Yeah. To be fair as well, like I say, I did have a job before DJing, and it was, you know, along the lines of like web design, logo design, marketing. But I was young. I wasn't an expert in it. I just had an interest. I've always been really creative, and I've loved technology. Yeah. So I guess that did help me, but it just probably put me 1 foot ahead. But I've still had to go out and learn things. But I've always just used my instinct to go and think, well, we've spoke about it before with production and stuff, like YouTube is YouTube. Like, people go on about reading books, people go on about podcasts, you know, people go on about all this stuff. YouTube is the free gateway to everything you want in life. Anyone listening to this, you know, there's people on YouTube and watching like the 100 most funny TikTok, 100 best Snapchat videos. Don't watch that. If you've got 10 minutes in the morning, go and learn something. Like, I was speaking to someone yesterday, actually, Jack Burton, Fit24. You know Jack, don't you?
Yeah.
And we was talking about how, you know, people wake up in the morning, first thing they do, reach for the phone, scroll. And I was that guy. And obviously we're going to go into other things, what I'm doing now with, you know, Andy's Manco and stuff. But one of the main things, and it's purely DJ related, is like, I'll scroll through my phone for 20 minutes, and obviously we both have a lot of DJs on social media. It's our main 75% of it's DJs, probably 20% is family and friends, and then 5% is the people that you went to school with and you hadn't spoke to for 10 years. So I'm scrolling through, and it's all, we all put our highlights on. If you've put an event on last night, so it's say it's Sunday, you put an event on Saturday night, I'm going to be watching your best moment of that night. I'm not going to be watching the moment where your drivers forgot to pick up your headliner and you're stressing and you might lose the X amount of money that you've laid out for him because the headliner is having a diva fit and kicking off, and he might not play. It does happen, doesn't it? But we don't talk about that. We only show the good things. So I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, fucking hell, he played a good gig. Fucking hell, has he just signed that record? How did he sign that? How come I can't do it? Do you know what I mean? It's a very toxic environment to be in sometimes. So I wake up in the morning now, and it's like I have a routine before I can do any of that shit. And to be honest, I don't have social media on my phone now, just because it takes over your life. So I utilise it the right way for business. I can't come off it because I need it. We both need it for our jobs. You've got your brands, I've got other stuff. We need it for them purposes, but at the same time, I'm quite clever because I know my way around technology. I'm posting a lot, and people think I'm on it a lot, but me as a person, I'm not actually on my phone a lot. Like I check my notifications once in the morning. I could do this thing called inbox zero. So messages, emails, notifications zero. Like once I've done my routine, I do a cleanse, back to work all day on the night, maybe like 8 o'clock, do a cleanse again. I might have a quick scroll through just in case anything I actually need to see. Off, and then obviously I don't go to bed till at least 12 if I'm not DJing. If I am, it's much later, but it gives me that mind space to forget about what I've seen, rather than go to bed thinking I've just watched someone sign a record deal or play the biggest gig while out, because comparisons, that's the problem with it.
So how would you say, okay then, so we'll go back from when you started DJing from a social media aspect, how would you say you've learned to cope with the social media sides and the pressures of social media? And, you've said how you deal with it today, now Inbox Zero, is it called?
Inbox Zero, yeah.
So how have you learned to cope with the social media side?
It's been a journey, and to be honest, there's been times where it's got way too much for me. Yourself, like, I can go 2 or 3 weeks and nothing much is going on. I'm not playing big gigs, and I'm not pretending to be. I'm just chilling. I'm in my own lane. I might put a few Snapchats or videos on, and then you'll have one weekend where you might post a video, or you might post something, or you might, like, I played a gig at Humber Street. I know you did as well, and I played that in August, and the tent I was playing at got shut down when I was DJing because it was banging. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't meant to be like that.
Standard Ben Rainey.
Yeah. Cheese. I was playing Macklemore. No, I can't remember, but so it got shut down, and obviously I posted the video again. I don't think too far into it, I just posted it, and then come off my phone, and then, like, next thing I know, it gone all over Facebook. Like, full Daily Mail had posted it. DJ shuts down it, and obviously people say any publicity is good publicity, don't they? But I don't know if I agree, because there was 95% people going either bigging me up, like people saying, I've seen him play, energy, like good things about me as a DJ, and it's nice to see that. But then the 5% saying, stuff like, oh, never heard of him, or why are you posting shit like this all day? And don't get me wrong, that's going to happen when you're in the papers and stuff like that. Shit, that you're always going to get people saying negative things, but it's crazy how 95%, and we're talking like hundreds of comments of people, supporting me, bigging me up, or saying you're mad, all this nice stuff, like good for your ego, whatever, good makes you feel good, endorphins, whatever. But it's mad how that 5% can drain you so much more than that, and it's happens to everyone. I've had this conversation with a lot of people, so like times like that, I actually focus on them negatives, and it does get a bit much for me, and I go a bit erratic, and I'm thinking, oh, like, is this it? Like, is the bubble going to burst and all this? And like, there's been other times when, like say, I've spent too much time scrolling, and I end up getting myself in a place where I doubt, and then I'm thinking, oh, I'm just going to sack this off now. Like, obviously they wake up the next day and you're back on the grind, aren't you? But like, it's in any industry as well, mate. Like, anyone, and there's kids out there there's young girls now, I know it's completely off topic, but like, there's young girls like 16, 17 getting thousands of likes. We don't get thousands. We might get a couple of hundred max. Sometimes maybe a bit more, but 9 times out of 10 you're struggling to get that amount of likes. Not that it's about that, but it's like when there's that level up there of young girls, and it sounds all they're doing is posting a photo of themselves.
Yeah.
You know, it's never going to get any better. It's only going to get worse. And then there might be another young girl who watches that girl and be like, why am I only getting 20? And they actually judge that off the likes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Same with like following and all that stuff. Like I'm trying to do this cleanse thing with social media at the minute where I don't spend a lot of time on it. And the only way, you know, Facebook's not as bad for me because I do a lot of business on there. But on Instagram, it's purely highlight reel, and it's for me, Instagram's a how big's your cock competition. We're all trying to get, you know, we're all trying to show the best. No one's showing the truth. No one, like, not saying the truth, but we're only ever showing the good things in life. So like I've gone through a phase of like, I literally follow like 3 people. I think 3 people now follow. Yeah. Sorry, boys, you two are not included. But
we can only aspire to that.
But this is the thing, right? This is the whole point of it, right? So I follow my missus, right, and a couple of people that moaned about it just to shut them up, right?
Did James Sutherland about it because he seemed to cry to me about it?
Yeah, that's what I mean. He's all right. I have to give him a rub.
Has he spoke to you since?
Yeah, but I've explained this to him and I've explained it to other people, so I've unfollowed everyone just so you can't scroll if you can't see anything.
Yeah, exactly.
But what I said, like, so use Suv as an example, he went, oh, why you unfollowed me and that? I said, but do I still message you every day nearly? And he's like, yeah. So I went, so why are you bothered about the follow? Do you know what I mean? Like,
I hope he's okay, don't you, John?
I know, you're alright. But what I'm getting at is, like, you can't judge, like, I think it's quite bad that it's friendships, how can it be judged on a follow, you know? There's a lot of people that I speak to daily and work with. They don't follow me, I don't follow them. But that doesn't mean I don't check in with them, you know. I'm sat here, how long have we been friends? You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter. So that's a personal thing for me. And anyone that knows me and cares about me and, you know, my well-being and my time management would actually think, do you know what, fair play to him, he's having a go, he's trying to get it. And the thing is, 3-4 months down the line, I might go, this don't work for me, just boom, boom, follow everyone. But it's not like I'm not actively bothered about them people. It's just that was a decision for me. The only way I can declutter my, you know, phone usage is by unfollowing people. Yeah, and it's just for your own mindset. It's like I can only mirror that. So one thing that I don't do enough, but I'm glad I do it at the same time, is I don't put anything personal in there whatsoever. So for example, you know, I had a cracking time with my nana last time, or if I have a real good time with Mum or Frankie, or we've got the dog, I generally try and keep my private life just totally private, and it's nothing to do with feeling like a celebrity. It's just like for my own sanity. I like to keep some stuff to me. And I found, like, so a prime example is when say for example you've come round to mine, and what you do in the olden days is you'd have a closed photo album inside a cupboard, and it'd be locked in there till someone special comes round. Come and show them everything. And you'd show them when they come round. Nowadays that photo album, online, you might as well stick it as a big poster at the front of your house and say, look, this is what's inside. And it loses like the special side of it. I'm so glad you said that. So it's like the benefit, the way that I do it is you keep stuff literally personal. And if anyone's invested in me, then they've got the DJ side and all that type of stuff. And that's just one thing. I realised it when I post my holiday pictures one time, and I just thought, no one gives a fuck. No one cares, do they? No one gives a fuck. And not only that is what I'll reverse that a bit, and it's kind of the opposite, and it's a bit of a contrast. But like, you say no one cares, but then like I'm quite an open book on social media, like missus, you know, my family, everything, you know. People go up to mum and be like, oh, you Ben's mum? Not in like like I'm fucking anything more than anyone else, but like I'm posting that out there a lot, so people do recognise that. And my mum will be like, oh yes, she'll describe the person to me. I'm like, I don't have a clue. Like, but Andrew is one of the most outgoing people you've ever met. True. So my dad are more social than me. But what happened once, recently, so I think I've been to Krakow, and I trekked my missus to like this like room with a jacuzzi and all sorts. And this is kind of where the social media detox has stemmed from, because I'm posting the hot tub, you know, I'm sat in the hot tub, all this stuff, like you say, basically doing the opposite of you. And then I get back, obviously, at the time, messages are flooding in, and then I feel like I'm sat on my phone all night replying, because I'm not rude, I can't not reply to people. So as soon as I see it, I have to reply. Except Sub, isn't he? That's another thing he's probably going to message you out. Why is he saying Sub? What does he mean by that? But yeah, so they will. I'll be replying to all these people not living in the present, and then I'll get back, and the first thing everywhere I go for that next week, oh mate, look banging where you was, or a girl who I don't even know come up to me in a club and go, oh my god, your missus is amazing. Like, where was that place? And like, even now, I'm still sending people the name of the hotel, and I think. Great, you know, that's a nice thing, but at the same time, it's actually made me think what you're saying. You're like, everything you've just said, the mirroring of what you said is so true, and that's now where I'm going to lead into. Like, it's difficult because that's probably, you know, saying about social media and stuff, and I said, oh, like, I'm myself, I'm honest. That is probably something what has benefited me, is being so open and being so honest, and, you know, even in the good and the bad, you know, if I've lost people, if things have gone mental health wise, but at the same time, you need that private thing. So I'm actually learning in myself to do what you're doing. So it's obviously it's nice to know that someone's done that and found benefit from it. Because I know, like, if I see anything of yours on social media, it's either illicit, your production, or rarely is it personal. It might be, you know, it might be about offshore, but it's nothing. Very rarely.
That's family. Where I sometimes like to drip a little bit of personal.
Yeah.
But that's just to show that I have some variety, sort of thing. Yeah. But if people invest,
that's another thing you kind of, like you say, I think it's just being careful what you're doing, how you do it. And that's what I'm going to learn to do, because I'm not going to just become immune to it all. You know, I do quite like doing that. Like, if I take a nice photo on holiday, I quite like posting it, but I think it's going to be controlled a lot more for me. Whereas at the minute, if you go through my accounts, you could
feel like I've been on holiday with you.
That's what I mean. It's kind of crazy, really. And I don't also, going in with that, it's like, I don't want to do things. Like, I feel like a lot of people do things for a photo now, or a Snapchat, or a video. Like, go certain places, eat certain places, you know, certain event. Like, you know yourself with DJs. You know, say for example, you book Clooney, right, and he drops a ciggy, or you book Endor and he drops Pump It Up. I was at Mission last week, and Endor was playing the night after me. So I asked the manager last week, how was it? And he was like, yeah, it was good. Like, I know Endor, Dan's a good guy and he's a great DJ. But he basically was like, yeah, like, it was good. Like, he had it popping, and then he played Pump It Up. And I was like, oh, yeah, thinking he's going to go, right. The roof went off. So he went, yeah, and then he played Pump It Up. And I went, well, what happened? And he went, well, just every single person's phone just came out, but the atmosphere actually dropped. Because obviously he's got everyone moving, and it's kind of like they're thinking, when's he going to play it? I'm buzzing, when's he going to play it? And then he plays it, and they just go out of the present into the phone and go, boom, film. And I think, like, that's just mad, isn't it? Like, none of them are gonna, do you know, like, when our mums and dads and stuff are going, oh yeah, like, I went to see X artist in 1980s when so and so came out, his first, like, a big track, you know what I mean? Like, they remember that moment and what he, you know, what happened.
So yeah, that's a very fair point. I went to go see Lighthouse Family last night, and one thing that I noticed,
it's real weird that people was asking me for that. I was playing, where was it?
It was at Hull Arena.
Yeah, people must have come after that to where I was. Because, was it High? And Lifted.
Lifted.
We could be. I like all that. Cheers for the invite.
But one thing that I noticed was, so when they were playing, like, these key legendary songs, irrespective of age, they all had camera phones out.
Mums are the worst, man.
Yeah, so I think it's a generational thing.
It's not a generation. It's a like time.
It's
the modern day era. It doesn't. People say it's kids. Kids are going to get worse. I don't think kids are getting worse. I think everyone is.
Yeah, and I think
if anything, it's becoming that easy that older people are getting worse.
Like, you had people like, so say for example, you go on a train or a bus or whatever, and people are just on the phones all the time, right? So I come from, where I work now, I've worked with old blokes, right? There is no when I went on there, when I first went on the rigs 10, 11 years ago. No one went on phones. There was no Wi-Fi or anything like that. But everyone was reading the paper.
Yeah.
Right? So everyone was sat there in the smoke room. Even me. In the coffee rooms and everything like that. Well, because you weren't allowed phones offshore when I first started.
Yeah.
So, but everyone was reading the paper. And it was the same. No one talking to each other. But everyone was just sat reading this paper. And it's just the same thing, but head towards the phones. Which, again, we should, because, you know, we're all aware of, like, mental health and things like that now, which we'll allude to a little bit there. But, you know, we all need to sit down and do things like this and just have a conversation because...
sorry, just real quickly as well, like, this time of me and you talking is probably the only time in the present that you spend in the day, because the minute that phone comes back in my hand, even though I'm actively not on social media, it's still there. I feel like when my phone's out, it's like, if I'm engaging, I feel miles better. Like, you have them days, don't you? Like, do you know when you're travelling, like, say you go to America and you have like 7 hours on the plane, that headspace I have in that 7 hours is mad, because I've got no distraction. I'll get my laptop out, plug it in, and I'm like, right, I want to do this. And then I go in this mad place, and the minute I land, boom, airplane mode out, back into like this whole. I feel like it's like a bubble, and like that's my challenge at the minute, is like get myself back to where I wanted to be. And I feel like just like talking to you now, and like being the way I am now, and getting more productive, and even if I do spend 10-20 minutes on Facebook, you know, if I'm on the toilet, if I'm in the bath, whatever, I don't so much mind then, but they could be used for, studying or learning on YouTube. But it's when I'm in a situation where I could easily be, engaging in a conversation or doing something. If I'd be on my phone then like I used to be, that's when I've let myself down. I feel shit about it. Do you know what I mean?
But I think, again, so from the social networking side, it's a double-edged sword, because I tell you, and I promise you this, I wouldn't have had half the gigs I've had if it wasn't for social networking.
It's such a... Well, this is the thing, like, and going back to that original quote about the politics and the old DJs, a lot of the words they were saying was about, social media and how it's benefited us. And do you know what? Yeah, it has, but that's used in the right way. Like, I always say social media is not, like, for me, it's a toxic environment because it's become that, but, like, it's not the tools out there on social media. This, for example, whoever's listening to this right now, how are they going to listen to it? Through social media.
Exactly.
This is great, but what I'm saying is how you use it. So that's why I've sharpened my tools. Like, I've got rid of the dirt off the tools. Like, I'm scraping it back so I can only use it like in a sense, in a positive manner. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you say, not posting your personal stuff's positive for you because it's all work related. For me, it's more a case of I can post, personal stuff, work stuff. That's not the issue for me. It's spending 20 minutes afterwards, then going through everyone else's, and then it's almost like it's that comparison game. It's that like, oh well, he's on holiday there, and I'm sat in my mum's back bedroom at home. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's like, for example, even just daft things like, I've got a studio, you've got a studio, right? And I'm happy to work in, man. It's great for me. This is great for you. But then you'll see someone in America with like a rooftop penthouse with a panoramic view on Instagram. And you're like, why haven't I got that? Do you know what I'm saying? It's You always, it's like, I've got iPhone 10 Max. You've probably got an 11 Pro. I want like your laptop's newer. No, but do you know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm on a 10.
That's that comparison thing. Like, your laptop's newer than mine. Do I want, like, it's a never-ending ball.
And that's what all the young kids are doing now. They're all comparing themselves to their other peers.
Who's got the best trainers?
Exactly, and it's a really, really toxic world. But again, talking on the positive note of social media, one thing that it made me able to see, because I ain't really seen you through properly, like spent time with you for a long time. But one thing that I've been invested in is your filming. If it wasn't for the social media side of things, I wouldn't even know about it. And I'll tell you, that video that you did for Tom Bowden was one of, if not the best videos I've ever seen.
Cheers, bro.
Seriously, it was
that sparked a mad journey off that.
So that was how has it going transitioning to the film side of things?
This is the again, like, through deep. So basically, I've always been, like, say, you said earlier about, the quality of the stuff I put out has always been good because I've learned. So I've always been invested in technology, cameras, be it laptops, whatever tools I needed to make it work, I had. So I've always had decentish cameras, never really known how to use them. Then I've done the whole vlogging thing and using GoPros. We've probably used them before. I think you've used GoPros before. And I think I've seen your stuff on GoPro, and we've all done it. And I started vlogging, and then I'm looking, how can I get better? And then about 2 years ago, obviously I'm still DJing a lot. One of my friends in Manchester who DJs knew that I was a bit savvy with a camera, and he said, look, I'm getting married. Could you do me a wedding video? Just out the blue. And I'm thinking, I'm one of them people, me as well. Like, even though I'm not anxious to the point of I can't go out, but we all have self-doubt, don't we? And I'm quite like, I don't know if I could do that. But the only way I get around that is by just throwing myself in the deep end. So I went, oh yeah, fuck it, I can do a video. Like, no matter, like, I didn't even say, I've never done it before or anything. But it also reflected, because I think he knew that, and also I'm his friend, and it was reflected in the price. I think he paid like a couple £100 for the video. Not if that. It probably he paid my time rather than my experience. So I did it in Manchester, and it was a lovely venue. I just got a drone. Again, it was just because I'm a technology geek. I just had the drone. I had a camera, and it went well, and that video did all right. It went out there, and people kind of started, oh, not a bad video. So then off the back of that, obviously Tom Bowden, who's a promoter, nightclub manager now in Hull, but at the time promoted House Tequila, what we've both been involved with, which is our connection. He was like, look, I'm getting married. Would you do it? And again, mates rates, good platform for me, and that, him and his partner Charlotte, very good looking couple, very nice people. So I thought, I'm quite clever like that, and I thought, well, they're my friends, so that's breaks down that anxiety barrier already, right? Good looking couple, so if they do the job right, it's going to look class on Facebook, right? And then I'm thinking, if I get it right with their network of friends and the age that they are, more people getting married. So I did the video, but what I did was, after I'd done the one in Manchester, I thought, I knew what I kind of assessed it and thought the footage wasn't stable because I didn't have a gimbal. The quality of the video wasn't as sharp as it could have been. So I looked best camera to get for a wedding. What did I do? Got a camera on finance. Just made it work. I just made it work. Cause at the time, I maybe didn't have the money. I think it was like $2.5 for the camera, $500 for the gimbal. I made it work, and off the back of that video that I did for them two, because the quality was improved that much, and I literally probably invested like 2 or 3 months in just learning how to color grade, how to film.
That's one thing that is so noticeable about you get obsessive.
Yeah.
Once you get your head into something, you are fully involved.
Done. So that happened, and then so this was 2018. This was, so obviously 2 years ago. Did that. They put it on. Charlotte put it on Facebook. Bang, inbox crazy, started the page, you think, right, I'm going to have to set this up as a business. And obviously, because my name's Ben Rainey, my full name's Benjamin Down Rainey. So I thought, I've got to separate these brands because it can't get confusing.
Good move, that.
Yeah, so I call myself Benjamin Down as a videographer. Most couples know I DJ, but at the same time, if I'm filming your wedding, you don't want to think some, monstrosity house DJs. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then Flickerist coming. But you don't want to think that it's the stereotype of what a DJ could be like. I don't want them thinking that. So I separated the brands, luckily, from early. That went crazy. Obviously, I know I'm marketing enough to get out there, and bookings just flooded. So last 2018 was like, I think that was about, I can't remember the time, about August time, their wedding. So that was like back end. I did a couple more. Sammy Allinson and Reese. I think you know Reese as well. Did their wedding. Again, popular couple, really good looking couple, lovely people, and I got this word of mouth thing going. But then I did the online.
Well.
Luckily, because of the people I worked with from the early doors, the word of mouth game was strong. But then because of the stuff I was doing myself online, the organic and the sponsored reach on my social media was going crazy. And then last year I did, and this is good into the transition of where things are going now. Last year, I did about 30 weddings, but I made the mistake of burning myself out by doing Friday night DJ until 3 in Leeds, getting home at 4, half 4, up at 8, 9 to film a wedding, home for 8, 9, showered, back in the club. So, and then by Sunday I was unapproachable.
Yeah.
I'm talking fucked. Like, I wasn't depressed, but I was moody, I was sharp, you know what I mean? I wasn't in the mind space I'd been like now, because I was, you don't realise, I was doing Thursday night in Leeds till 4 in the morning, getting up at dinner time Friday night in Leeds till 4 in the morning, then getting up at 8 a.m. and then going home, doing 12 hours on my feet with a camera in my hand, which isn't the lightest of things.
Sorry, you can burp, it's fine.
then going to a club till 3 in the morning on a Saturday, then getting up on a Sunday. Body clock's knackered, routine's knackered, mentality's fatigued, everything's wrong. And then because I wasn't aware of all this whole well-being and mental health thing, I'm kind of thinking something's up with me.
Yeah. But
then obviously I realised, so then obviously going into 2020 when we're at now, I've managed to not back out of DJing, but going back to that point of when I went full time and I lost the love and passion. I've got that back because I only have to do the gigs I want to do now. I can say no to things, I can afford to say no to things, and I've obviously got another career which puts less pressure on my music. So in reflection, the music I'm making, the gigs I'm doing, like yourself probably what you've done from the start is, you've been authentic all the way through. Like you stopped the commercial stuff when you wanted to, because you wanted to go down this whole illicit, credible tech, whereas I didn't, because I was relying on that money. Whereas now I'm not relying on it. I'm finding myself back in that position, which is great, because I've built the name, built the brand, done the hard work, done the legwork, but now I can actually do what I want to do in music. And if I don't get a track sound, or if I get 10 gigs a week on one, it doesn't matter anymore, which is better because I can pick, do you know what I'm saying? And I feel like my heart's whole again with music. I can make the music I want. I'm not making it thinking I want to get a top 10 here. Not that I did get a top 10, but that was my ethos, and I think that was the wrong ethos from the start. Whereas now I'm back in I like it, if you like it, great, and that's how you should make music, how you should do it.
Amen to that, because I tell you, so if anyone's put in the groundwork and built the foundations to develop themselves as a serious artist, it's you. So going on to the mental health side of things, that's one of the key reasons why I kind of started this, was because I struggled maybe in like more social situations. So I wasn't the conversationist type of guy. I'd want being able to bring up subjects. So I'm using this to kind of help me develop them skills that I used to have before the days of social media.
You feel like you lost them into.
I think because of the working offshore, been away from everybody,
which is a mental battle in itself. I guess being away. I mean, I couldn't imagine being sat where, and I've said this to you before, and I've thought about it before. Like, there's been times when I've been out with say Carl, Jack, anyone, Tom, Scott, whenever, even Frankie, whatever. We've FaceTimed you or tried to ring you or sent you a message saying, "Look who I'm with," and then I'm thinking, that he's at work, like, and he can't. It's like I have FOMO as it is, fear of missing out for anyone that doesn't know. Yeah. So I couldn't imagine what it feels like for you, and it would probably make me depressed. Like, it probably would make me depressed because I get that feeling. I get that feeling anyway, being onshore and not being able to be somewhere. So I couldn't imagine how it's for you. Like,
yeah. So for me, it's something that I adjusted to when I was really young. Not so much as I got older, but I went offshore when I was 19. So you imagine being 19, you're balls deep in beds left, right, and centre, and an absolute fiend. And I found that I was just missing out the times of going out and spending times with friends and finding them social circles. Because you're going away at 19 and coming back home, and it was the same. I was finding it with rugby was, you want to try and build a solid rugby team, for example, and if you're a person that's going away all the time and coming home and going away and coming home, your rugby team wants to build that solid
and you're not
team.
part of that.
And I'm not part of it because I'm in and out all the time.
Like, you're not 100% engaged. You're like 50-50. You won't put in,
and it's unfair on the person that trains every week, for example.
In the same position as you, that
exactly.
Couldn't do it,
So that creates shit in itself. And I found that with social circles, it was hard. So I went from living in Middlesbrough from 18 to 19, 20. So I lived there for 2 years, and then I went straight offshore. And before that, I lived in Leeds, so I'd never really developed a proper strong social circle. And it was one thing that I always craved. And so throughout working offshore, again, I built some stable friendship groups. But one thing that was lost through working offshore was this social side of things, because I was just relying on tapping Messenger and just learning and just communicating through that. You couldn't use the phones when you're offshore. The mobile phones weren't allowed, and everything was pay phones. So it was just using a computer and, on the work computers and just doing it that way. So one thing that I'm learning that I need to sort out is this social side of things. So, like, for example, when me and Carl were Black and Watky, if we do go to a gig somewhere, it'll be Kyle that does the talking. Kyle is the ultimate social chameleon. And again, I was just, as you can imagine. So I was the person in the background, not really saying much. You can sometimes come across as arrogant.
I mean, to be fair, I'd think, like, that sounds horrible. Like, if someone didn't know you back when we was mates, people probably thought you was. Because, you wouldn't be the most sociable person. But now I know that, it makes sense. And I think at that point, I wouldn't have understood that. I don't think I'd have just thought, he's arrogant.
But unless you get me on, if I know you and you come to, like, when I lived in the BBC building, you used to come around and all that stuff, and then I was open, I was social and all that shit. But one thing that I'm really shit at is when I go to fresh new people. I'm a person that's just quiet, not even necessarily in the corner of the room. I'm just shit with conversation. Sometimes I come across
say things and think, why did I say that?
Yeah. So again, this is what all this side of doing this podcast. Luckily, I've got Jack with me doing it, and Jack's one of my real good mates. So if I have any problem and I feel like I'm stuck, I can just turn to him, and it makes me feel a little bit more easy. So again, that's what this side of stuff is. So going on to the mental health side, I understand you're in a good organisation, which I think you can tell us more about.
So I am a facilitator at Andy's Man Club, which is like breaking the stigma for men, to speak, but pretty much echoing what you're saying. And it's not like it's not such a professional service. It's like it's a man-made service, like run by genuine people for genuine people. So it's like that authenticity and that, like this. I think the prejudgment of a mental health service is like you have to be crumbling to go. You have to be, I think when you picture, ringing someone or asking for support, you feel like there's a lot of people out there with anxiety, a lot of people with, depression or just certain attributes of mental health which are technically life-threatening at the minute, but they don't feel like they need the support and get support. Everyone's got mental health. It's just some people's are better than others, right? Yeah. So for me, it's like this is the first stage. If you've any mental health, if you want to get awareness, or if you just want to, build that, be a part of a team, like you said about the whole rugby ethos. So I went there after, situation in my own life, losing a best friend suicide, to get some answers, to get some clarity. That was my first port of call, because I thought, seems like a genuine thing. And I think when you go somewhere like that, in your head you build up this anxiety, this prejudgment, and this picture of what it's going to be like. And it's like when you go to the dentist, you think this is going to be the worst thing in the world, and to be fair, it usually is, but it's not as bad as what you think, is it? Like, oh, I've got an 8-hour train flight, this is going to be horrible, and then you get on the flight, you start watching films, you're chilled, and it goes before you know it. So it's like I built up this demon in my head of how it was going to look, and how I was going to crumble when I got there. Best thing I ever did. This is over a year ago now. Best thing I ever did. Got the support I needed, and then obviously things I've rebuilt in my own life, through that and other services I've used. And then I thought, well, it's time to give something back, because I've benefited from that. And another thing is, I think young people don't. I feel like if a lot of the guys there maybe like 30 plus, there is some young guys go, but not more now. Leading on to what I'm going to say is, like, I went and I felt like I was a lot younger than a lot of people there, and I thought, I look at the statistics. I'm in touch with people that work for the NHS and the suicide team, and they tell me the statistics of, young suicides. Obviously, really, really sadly, it's going on at the minute. It's happening. So I thought, well, if we can get more young lads there and get them open up, break that stigma, not just of men, not just of women, but I think in young people, it's very rife, and it's almost like, because of this whole social media and this image and this, no one wants to admit they need a bit of help. So I'm putting it out there. Right, I go to Andy's Man Club every Monday. I've been counselling, I've been through other services, and it's massively changed everything in my life. Gone from being so, I don't know what the word is, I guess I was heartbroken. I lost my best friend, grieving. I was so many unanswered questions, building demons in my head. Building different bad routines and dipping into a hole. And it was like a cloud in my head's just disappeared, and I've got this new lease of life. So it's like, now I want to give back, and I'm on like a journey now of giving back through my own experience. And the amount of young lads that come through that door, and obviously it works on a bit of like a Fight Club rule. What happens in here stays in here. So I'm not going to go into detail, what we talk about, but that's just to show people, it's safe. You come in there and talk to me, and I might well know you outside of the club, but I'm not going to talk about what happens out the club. I reveal stuff in there, and other people doing it's that brotherhood, it's that respect. We don't talk about it, but people come in there and some of the things that they share, and then they'll come back the next week a different person. Or we have like a support group, Facebook Messenger. The group will finish at 8:30. They're in there at 9 o'clock saying, I just needed that, And I think as well, a lot of people need it that don't realise they need it. Probably me included. We're all quite guilty of putting on a bit of a front sometimes. When in actual fact, there is things going on in everyone's life, and everyone could probably benefit from it. So going there and getting involved with that's just been like a whole new lease of life for me. It's given me a different perspective. I'm able to give back, and obviously losing a friend through suicide and through mental health, my ethos, keep saying ethos, don't I? Ethos.
Nice.
I like that word. Yeah, I heard it.
Buzzword. It's a Ben Rainey buzzword. It's a
Ben Rainey buzzword. Ethos. Okay, my logic of going there, my reasons for going there is like, obviously, if I can stop that happening to one person or one friendship group going through what me and my friends have been through, and Sam's family and everything else, I don't need a pat on the back or an ego boost, but that for me is worth it, and that helps me, and I know that that's happened since going there, so it's worth going. Do you know what I mean? And being a part of.
So let's put it as a point of, so say I'm going through a crappy time, or I'm aware of somebody that's going through a crappy time. What's the routes I take to to be able to go to one of Andy Man Club?
Well, this is the thing. It's open to anyone, and B, because it's like quite an open platform. I've had 3 people message me today saying they're coming tomorrow from all different walks of life. People you will know, people you won't know, people that have been in the spotlight, people that haven't been in the spotlight. And I just think they've messaged me, and I've literally just said, starts at 7 o'clock Monday night. It's at the Airco on Galton Street on the back of Ezel Road. I'll be there from 6:30. Here's my number. Ring me if you come in, and we'll have a brew. And I'll walk a lot of people in. I can feel that they're anxious and shy, and I know that was me when I walked in. So the first thing I always say is, look, I've been in this position, and look at like me now. Come in the group with me. Come and have. And the minute they walk through the door, that whole picture you've painted, that anxiety and that feeling had just disappeared, and they realise that it's just like anywhere else. It's not what people think. I could only recommend people come and see it for themselves. So
okay. Is it on social networks or anything like that?
Everywhere, yeah. Just put Andy's Man Club in. Even website, it's got all the information online, and it's like I said, it's confidential. I think a lot of people's as well in Hull, and this is another stigma I like to break down. People always say, oh yeah, but I fear bumping into someone I know, but that's the whole point of realising that, like, I've bumped into people from, old acquaintances, friends, you know, people you wouldn't imagine going, and they've looked at me in a bit of, like, I remember someone coming in and going, oh, this is what I didn't want to see you here, and I got the ball and I said my bit, and straight away realised that, you know, I'm going to say it the way it is, just because you know me, I'm not going to not tell you my fit, and it's just broke that stigma down, and next thing you know, he's putting his cards on the table and saying it as is, because I'd done it. So that's what I always say to people, is if you're worried about, you know, this whole, oh yeah, but so-and-so knows me outside of this group, they're going to say, because I know like a lot of business owners and a lot of people I do work with who say, I just can't go because, you know, what if they find out I own the business? That's good. That's a good thing. You know, you run a successful event, Tom, you know, on paper, you know, I'm DJing, like, this is what I always say to people as well, like, I've been fortunate to DJ in, like, you know, Hull, Leeds, Dubai, Ibiza. I've lived people's dreams, including my own, but that doesn't mean that I don't have a mental health. That doesn't mean that I don't have issues. That doesn't mean that I don't need support. We all do, especially in this day and age, you know, with what's going on. So I think, right, I'm just gonna lob my ego out the door and go through and tell it as it is. But I know that people, when they come and see me do that, they reflect that and go, well, he's doing it, I'm gonna do it, and that's what helps me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, sounds. Okay, so moving on to something that is very close to your heart as well as Andy Mann's Club is Taylor Shipley.
Yeah.
So who is Taylor Shipley and what is she about?
She is an 11-year-old DJ from Scunthorpe, and she is the next best thing since sliced bread. So her mum and dad, her dad reached out to me a while back and basically said, look, my daughter's DJing. And it's crazy because I always say this, like, when I tell people about it, like, I get a lot of people asking me questions. I've checked Instagram on my laptop, because I have it on my laptop. Obviously, like I say, I can't shut my social media down, but I restrict my limits, so I don't have it on my phone. I woke up this morning, checked it on my laptop, and I had, like, the latest 4 messages I had on Instagram was from, like, young DJs asking questions, because since more recently I'm looking to educate and help people and give them guidance, so I'm getting a lot of messages, a lot of people asking questions. So that's been going on for a little while. Like I say, I can't not reply to anybody. I always reply. So I was just replying, being polite, you know, giving them the answers that they need. Except James stuff. How many times can we get that? Yeah, so I was giving them the answers that they needed and wanted. Didn't think too much of it, because obviously you can't invest your life into a conversation. You just kind of, you know, it's like if I asked you, oh, Watky, what's that camera that you use? Bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
And then you forget about it. All going on, and then one night happened. I needed some decks to borrow, and he popped up out of nowhere. Steve Shipley. Yeah, you can borrow Taylor's decks. So I went and met them, and then obviously she gets out of the car, and I'm just like his wife got out of the car, and then his daughter didn't. At first, I'm thinking his wife was Taylor, because I didn't know the age, didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And then this door opens, no face, and then just these little legs pop out, and then there she is. I'm like, what? Like. And again, like, I was overwhelmed, but I was rushing as well, so I was just like, oh, and he's like, oh, can we get a photo with you? Yeah, absolutely no problem. Got a photo, and I put it on social media.
I remember the
tagged
photo.
her, yeah, with the decks and everything.
Yeah.
Boom, gone viral, everything, thousands of likes and that. And I'm thinking, but I'd gone out and I didn't know. I wasn't checking, and then people started texting me like, have you seen the comments on that photo? And I'm like, what? And her dad messaged me like, oh my god, thank you, she's buzzing. I'm like, what? It was only a photo. Like, I'm like the equivalent of a Z-list.
No, but it just proves the impression that you have on people.
Yeah, so I guess that was nice, and, you know, that happened, and then from there it's just gone from, you know, a meeting in a car park to borrow some decks to, you know, I've got her in Ocean Beach, we've been to Ayia Napa, she's DJ'd for some of the best events in Hull and, you know, around here, and like, the family have become friends of mine. Mums and dads are friends, you know, my missus is friends with Steve's wife Kerry. I even know some of Taylor's friends, you know, her own, like, little mates, bless them. It's just a massively organic friendship, you know, families, and it's like she's my little sister. Yeah, it's mad. It's a bit crazy, because I don't think about it, because it's become normal to me. But then people will bring it up in conversation, be like so amazed by it, like, oh my god, like, how do you know her? How's this happening? I'm like, yeah, I guess it is. It does sound kind of crazy. But then obviously, like, a few people say things like, oh, like, are you getting paid to mentor her, or is it your cousin or something? I'm like, I've never wanted, asked, received, or looked for a penny, because they're friends and it's genuine. And B, you know, I didn't know these people 2 years ago. They've just become friends. It's like, it's so organic. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's mind blowing, really. Especially when I speak about it like this, that's when I actually think, fucking hell, this is mad. Like, she's done more as an 11-year-old than some people would do in a lifetime. She's playing at Ocean Beach this year as well.
And I think, reflecting on, just our conversation of where you've progressed from the start of our conversation, it's not dissimilar to how Taylor started.
No, not
so
at all.
She's almost replicating exactly how you started. So buying the controller, getting the foundations.
Well, I think as well, it's like I say about educating now, and I've been in like I say, the whole situation with mental health and stuff has put me in a different perspective of everything. Instead of being like kind of not selfish, but like I'm in a position where I'm in a give back motive now. Like I was thinking about it, right, and I've gone through this whole being materialistic, trying to be the big dog, trying to be the, we've all been there, haven't we? Like, we've all done it.
Life's learning.
Yeah, and I've learned that I buy a new pair of trainers for £400, right? Gives me 5 minutes of satisfaction, yeah? Go out in and one, scuff them, gutted, yeah?
Yeah.
So now I just wear like £70 Nike trainers, 4 pairs, done, right?
It's still more expensive than our pair of trainers.
But but you get what I'm saying, like, it's, you live to like the means, and I think what I was thinking about, like, what gives me satisfaction, obviously, music, releasing music and getting feedback is the one ego stroke I love. We all love it, and it's nice. It's not even an ego stroke, it's just nice to hear. It's a good feedback.
Definitely helps your ego though, at the same time.
Of course it does. But what I actually love is just helping, like, and not necessarily needing recognition for that. People will recognize it, and people will say, "Oh, like, fair play to you for that," and that's great. I love that, but that's not the ethos of why I do it.
Yeah.
So doing stuff like that, and I thought this year I'm like, right, I want to help people, and then I'm thinking that whole self-doubt, anxiety comes in. I'm thinking, am I even in a position to help people? Like, what have I actually done? But then I think what me and you have done, Tom, and like the way we've done things and the age we're at, it's a modern era. So it's like, there might be guys with 20, 25 years experience in the music industry, and obviously respect to them guys, and I'm learning off them. But for someone young, they'd probably rather learn off me or you, because we're relatable. Yeah. So I thought, well, I get all these messages, and like you said, we spoke about the YouTube videos, right? So I've started doing like little tutorials, and I think that's just a start. Eventually, going to move on to other things and bigger things, and selling courses and workshops and all this kind of thing. But it's just like, I know that I was learning. I would rather learn off, if I was 18 or 16 or 12, whatever. I'd probably rather learn off a young kid who's like been and done a bit, but like he's not, on like, because I feel like obviously it's just relatable, and we've only just been through them kind of things. It's like we can still learn as we go and give knowledge, and it's like modern day knowledge. It's not like the old school, ways of doing it. I'm not saying that some of these guys, some of these guys that are 25, 30 years deep, a lot of them have kept up with the times, and they're ahead of us. They'll always be ahead of the curve, but I feel some people could give you like really old school. It's like really old school knowledge, like the old rugby coaches. Like, just got to be tough, lads. Get in there. What's it like? Get the first hit in. Give them the first one. Yeah. That's not the way it works now. With rugby, there's a massive amount of skill change. Yeah. You look at people like how it used to be, like Barry McDermott and all them, Adrian Morley, bang, biff. It was, you can't even punch. You get sent off for a punch now. So they've had to change and adapt, and the coaches now in rugby and modern day, it's all about the skill, it's all about the fitness and stuff. It's the same with the DJ world. It's not about like the old school, or like what was the old school like rules in the club? Get the girls in and the boys will follow and all this. It's not all about that no more. There's other things, and I feel like if we're the sort of people that can give that, because we've kind of come through it, and like even just in this conversation, people realise, look at where me and you started playing Macklemore and Sugar Mill, right? And then we went through the whole our actual bond come through House Tequila and being part of an event. You now have your own event, which is arguably,
class.
World class. Gives that 20 quid under the table. But like,
I didn't know what he was going to say.
Shit. But what I'm saying is, like, you've gone from working for other people for an event to running an event which is probably the most well-known event in Hull.
Yeah.
And if not, it's doing the numbers. It's a fact. You can't turn that away, and it's well known. And because people say to me, like I speak to people and they're like, "Oh, have you seen that Alyssa? You seen them boys?" I'm like, "Fucking hell, mate. Me and him, and Carl, Tom and Carl have done." I'm like, I can't. I don't want to be like, oh, do you know when someone says, someone like, "Oh, do you know Tom Watky? Do you know him?" Like, "Oh yeah, I know him." I don't want to be like that guy. Like, "Oh yeah, I know Watky and Carl," but I'm thinking, you don't know what us lot have done together. Like, we didn't start together, but in a sense, our journeys have started together on like a.
I think one thing that we all did collectively is we created that new movement.
Yeah, of like it's like it wasn't, and the thing is, we've all branched off, but now it's got. I feel like as well, like we all did stuff together, and then we all got wise to what we actually wanted to do a bit, and then it's like, I wouldn't say it felt like a competition, but we're all doing different things, and it's all like not racing, but it is kind of in a sense like. Because we're from the same era and the same movement, it's like who can do this, but then now we're all doing that much diverse and different things. It's like that grown up respect thing's there now. It's like fucking hell, Carl and Tom are smashing it with that, and then I've gone and done like an individual movement. Do you know what I'm saying? So like you look at me and say work rate and like presentability and social media and stuff, and it's like I look at things like that, and like Tom Bone's gone on to run a club which is, you know, arguably, well, it is the busiest club in Hull. Granted, we might not go in there anymore because we've changed, but you can't deny what that guy's doing with that. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like we've all gone on to these different paths, and there's no politics or no like crossroads or no conflictations. Whereas there maybe was in the past when there was House Tequila, illicit, all these different things, and everyone wanted to do different events.
So one thing that was very instinctive when you're young is the competitive side. So we all played rugby, it's rugby or football. Yeah. So it was instilled in us to have that competitive mindset. So that will have reflected
on when we started,
whether it's DJing or whether it's events or whatever. But over time, as you mature, you kind of think
you find your lane as well.
Yeah, and I think it's, you know, one thing that I've learned is one thing that Deja Vu has done historically is try to kill other brands. You know, maybe it doesn't do it now, but historically it went against other brands, and it's not the way to go. I think people buy into more working together.
Like you've done collaborations with other brands, and you've welcomed them in, and it's been genuine. And I think as well, like, you know, obviously we've gone on different paths, but I know for a fact that like I'm not DJing as much now, so like I'm gonna have time to actually hang out, and I want to come and see what you're doing now, and it'll be great to like rekindle that. And I know that I'll be welcome with open arms. Come and see that.
We'll have to get a collab on the grain here, won't we?
Yeah, big. We'll go for a big Macklemore remix. We should actually do what we should actually do, just for a laugh. We should actually try and remix it, make it credible. Just for bands, but you know, just like put like one little bit of sample so no one even knows it's Macklemore.
Yeah, we go.
Like the students can't hold us. I just feel like, just for old time's sake, just to see how far we've come.
Yeah.
Make it into like a bit of like a 90s house, like with a bit of a techno, like a big stomp.
We'll leave that as a challenge then.
Yeah.
We'll try and make a Macklemore remix, current,
but
credible.
Like, but I think what we should do is, so obviously people know we're going to do that, but like not actually make the sample obvious. So like maybe like reverse the vocal or something. So go, I mean, like something like that.
Go again.
Do you know what I mean though? Like we should do something mad. Don't you laughing at? We should do something mad where people wouldn't actually know, but we know. And I think do you know what I've done before? I've put things in tracks, which, say for example, like you say about like sampling and, you know, like copyright and all that. I've put things in tracks which no one will ever know, like a mad sample.
Well, it was funny you would say about samples. So I did a track called Suspected and brought out on Illicit, and it's Talking from Black Mirror.
Oh really?
Yeah, and
which is well known, really.
Yeah, like, but no one ever said it to me.
No one's ever said it. Yeah.
No one ever said it to me until Ashenko said it to me a couple of weeks ago. He sent me it, and he was watching Black Mirror,
and he was like, "I know where that's from."
Like,
yeah. No, but do you know what? That's where, do you know what I'm saying about sampling being clever? I love it when you listen to something, I'm thinking, I fucking know where that's from, but I can't think. And then 3 months later, you'll be watching TV or listening to.
Well, that's what Enko did to me.
Yeah. It's class. That's what it's about, though, isn't it?
Yeah, because when people said to me, a few people asked, they were like, "Oh, where's that sample from?" I was like, "Oh, just a British film or something like that," just to try and. I didn't want to tell everyone what it was, and when he said it to me, now everyone knows. But it's Black Mirror. So from a sampling principle, I think we could do it. I think it's worth doing. We could make something cool and funky. I'm sure we could get there. So, future-wise, coming into the summer, what's Ben Rainey doing? What's his plan?
There's some mad stuff going on, to be honest. I've got to be careful what I say, because
keep stuff under wraps.
Well, no, do you know what it is with me? I get excited. I don't know what you're like, but like, if there's a hint of something happening, like say,
I think that'll be more of a you get a hint of something happening, you want it to happen. Yeah. So you just bring it to the front.
But at the same time, it's like it's not in a gloating way, but I just can't wait to tell people my news. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't, can you? Like that's what it's about. So like, say for example, like I've DJed in Ocean Beach. I actually moved. Like, I didn't move to Dubai. I went to Dubai for like 5 weeks last January. And I was already telling people before it was confirmed, before the flights were booked. And obviously it happened, but what if that didn't happen? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like a bit of a tit. So I don't want to, like, there's a lot of things like, at 75% complete. I will be DJing in Ibiza and Dubai this year, which is sick, but that's not like, for me, it's all about what's going on behind the scenes. So like obviously production wise, tapping into like big labels now, like looking at majors rather than independents, because I've been doing a lot of releases on independents, growing my Spotify and stuff, but it's all been originals. I've done a couple of like what's it called? You know, when you sound like remakes of classics, like Strings of Life. Done like a few R&B remakes into like commercial, like vocal house stuff. They've done really well, but they're not gonna make people think this guy's creative, this guy's clever. So I've been really doing originals, working with vocalists and learning the art of like even vocal recording and how long that takes. That's a baller.
That's a whole different beast.
And that's something like even now I struggle with. I might send a vocal off to like an engineer to compress it, mix it, master it, whatever, because I'm not an expert. But that journey's led me to a point where now people are paying notice and going, this guy could make an original like proper, like it's not just covering tracks and stuff. So I'm getting that in production. That's exciting, but again, I'm not going to name the names of the people that I'm speaking to because it might not come off. And it's like, I'd rather not set myself up for failure, because that's the only reason I don't like telling people, is because I know mentally and well-being, what I know now is like, if I start saying to you, oh well, I'm speaking so and so, and like this might happen, imagine if that, and then it doesn't, I've almost, do you know what I mean, I've dropped myself in that. Whereas if I go, yeah, it might happen, but might not.
And it's just so much better for your mindset.
Yeah,
when you're just saying exactly what's happening. Because what I think that's down to can be an element of insecurity. Because I used to do it all the time, and it's like, I want people to think I'm doing really, really well, and that's what I found I was doing. It's like that painting that picture, innit? Yeah, like, you want people to be thinking.
Yeah, of course. And it's like when people are like, huge announcement at 7 o'clock. We've all fall into that trap, but it's like, just kind of say it like when it happens, and that's what I've found. Like now, just roll with it. And yeah, so in terms of DJing, I've got stuff like that going on. Obviously, like doing the courtyard parties in Leeds, which are like. Everyone knows about them at Fibre. They're just legendary. But more off the scenes, like I say, I'm doing a lot of learning stuff for other people. Again, can't say too much, but I've got something big in the pipeline with that. That's that whole insecurity thing. I've got something big in it. I've got something pretty good lined up.
Soon,
but that's like 95%, so I'm can say but can't say. But more importantly, and this is something what I'm really excited about, is I'm doing some documentaries based on mental health. So obviously, like you say about my filming stuff coming to light more recently, I've working with like a suicide campaign to do a documentary on suicide and the services available if you're suicidal. So first it'll basically tell a journey, and I'll kind of like be visiting people who have been affected by suicide, either people that have survived an attempt, people that have been left behind from suicide, like a wife or a husband, sisters, family. Show that real and raw, just show how much trauma it affects. Because I think as well, like obviously, when you're in that mind space of nothing matters and nothing thinks, you don't actually realise what you're doing to your family and friends. Some people say suicide's selfish. I don't want to go into that, whether it is or it isn't, because we all have our own opinions on that. But in a sense, regardless if it's selfish or not, you do leave a big paper trail of trauma behind. So I want to show people that. And then in the second half of the documentary, I want to show people the services that are out there, but also break that stigma of like, I've just explained Andy's Man Club to you in like, and it took me a while. And I mean, I'm not the most, what's the word? Like, I struggle with my words. That's why I kept saying ethos, because I'm not great with words. But when I try and explain something, I sit back and I think, I should have said that. Yeah. But in this documentary, I'm going to visually show people all these services, so it breaks that stigma of what it's going to look like. You go into the room, and it's not going to be that dark, horrible room with a devil on the wall. It's going to be a nice room with a presentable people there that are actually there to help you. Interview them people, talk to them people, show you what they do for you, and also show the levels. So obviously you've got like Andy's Man Club, which is like a support group. Then you've got stuff like Let's Talk, which is a one-to-one counselling for the people that might not be able to sit in a group and talk, or the people that might not want to sit with people in case they know them. So you've got that one-to-one element. Then you've got like Samaritans. I didn't know this, I've recently found out, there's a cafe in town there where you used to live in the BBC building that's actually like a mental health cafe. So the people, I think the people that said the baristas.
Whereabouts is it?
I don't know. This is what I'm still there. I found out 2 days ago, so I'm going to visit this week and do my homework. But apparently the baristas are trained in mental health, so you can get your coffee and you can do like a bit of a counselling session. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Because I had a vision in my head for like Hull to have like a 24-hour kind of stop, like somewhere you can go, like, but there is places like that obviously as I've dug into it, but on different levels. But obviously I want to show the levels up to like crisis, so that people know that if you're just anxious, there's this. If you feel like you're depressed and you need help, there's this. If you're on crisis and you're going to go and do something, you need to ring these.
Yeah.
But I also want to show it from like, and the trauma, so that people will see the trauma that they're leaving, and if they're feeling that, they go, shit, I need help, and that's who I can go to. So it paints, that's the whole like the whole image ethos of the
ethos.
Should deduct a
It's
tenner
nice,
for everything.
no,
It is a good word, though, isn't it?
It's a buzzword. Every single person has their
the
own
trigger.
individual buzzword.
So that's the, like I say, that's the whole plan. I'm trying not to say ethos. That's the whole plan for the documentary.
So that's the ethos of
that's the ethos of the
Rainey's gonna
documentary. That's my main, like, obviously I've got a lot going on, but in a sense that's what matters, you know what I mean? Like, there's no, we could sit here both and say, you know, oh well, we spoke about off camera, like, oh, I'm going to buy a house, going to do that, but that's not what matters. What matters is what you're actually going to do that's going to benefit people and leave a bit of a positive paper trail to your name. He did this, he did that, you know, you're doing great events, I want to do that kind of thing. It's like, it's not about you, it's about the brand of Illicit. It's not about me, it's about the mental health rating Hull, you know what I mean? So that's next, mate.
Well, I think that's a extremely positive note to end it on. So we spoke about social networks. Where can we catch Ben Rainey if you want to know where you are or what you're about?
Do you know what? Just to cheer him up, go and follow James Sub. Just to shut him up. No, I don't know. I just put my name into anything. It probably bring up a stupid video of me and you dancing. Mate, actually, go on my Instagram and go right down to about 2015 and you'll see Watky in a different light. He's going to make me come off camera and delete all the videos. I swear there's some videos of me and you doing some mad stuff.
Is he?
Yeah, like when we, you had a little tash at one point, like a handlebar tash.
I did have.
And sent me a selfie and it wasn't for anyone else, and I put it straight on Instagram. So and then there was like boiler rooms in the BBC. Then there was a video of you. I remember waking up one morning and was stood on your balcony and you're having a fag, and I just was just like, it was a mad. I can't remember what had happened. Either I can't remember or I can't say it on camera. Something had happened that night and we just woke up like, what the fuck? And you all stood there with a cigarette. I went, mate, can you believe what happened? You just went,
yeah, that's
we've got some mad stuff, haven't we?
Yeah, some real good stories, and I think that's what's, you know, we've always stayed friends, no matter if we don't see each other.
I see your brother more than I see you now, don't I?
Yeah, so, you know, I'd say our friendship's still real, and we can still sit and have a conversation.
And I think it's more mature now as well, because, you know, when we was younger and we was both, obviously, we was on the complete same path, so it was literally inseparable. Yeah. Whereas obviously it's like leaving school, isn't it? Like, you leave school, you're still friends with them people, but you just don't see them as much because you all have to do your own life. And our lifestyles and the differences we're done now don't lead us on the same day to day. Like the way you and Carl, you run an events company together. You're gonna see each other every day. You know what I mean? Like, we've kind of fallen different paths, but nothing changes. Same with Jack and Carl. You know what I mean? Like, I've known all three of you for years, but we're not really in the same niche as we was. But we still cross paths, and we can. The best thing is we can do things like this to make get together more than anything.
Yeah, and I think that when I've seen you, I saw you in Barrow Boys. Yeah. A couple of months ago, we sat and had a conversation. I was talking about
what was you doing?
Number 5 business venture.
I could have leaked that there and then.
You could have, yeah.
So for anyone that didn't know, when Watky bought Gate 5, I interrupted his meeting in terms of buying it. I could have put a bid in, but I don't have the money. I could have swooped. I could have done a deja vu and just cut the cord for you.
Could have done, yeah. So, have you planning to do any events or anything like that? I remember you did.
I did that little event at Piper, but we're ending on a positive note, so we won't talk.
Yeah, okay.
No, it's my own fault. In a nutshell, you know, when you overdo it, like, a bit like House Tequila, you know, when you overdo it and you saturate it and then it becomes less exclusive and less fun. Yeah. Did that, but it's lesson learned, like you say. Like, it was went from monthlies to weeklies, and the numbers just dropped because that monthly excitement went there. Like, the thing is, Illicit, you build it up, you build that hype, you know how to market it, and you get people talking about it. Whereas if you did that every week, it's not going to work.
Yeah, the only reason you do a weekly is, like, you know, you're a beef for weekly things because you got different people going all the time, but in the same city. Yeah, you know.
And that's where it went wrong. But it was, nothing went wrong in terms of, like, you know, with the club that I was working with, or, you know, we still made the money. We just had to. I just said I ain't got the drive for it anymore. I kind of lost that buzz.
And you got to remember, thinking of it on a positive note, is that you didn't just keep it going and to keep your ego didn't get the better of you. You took the mature business. You took the mature business decision.
Admitted defeat at the right time. Yeah, and it was kind of pulling the plug before you have to admit defeat, because it was like I could have still sat there for probably 3 more months and took a wage, but that's not what I was in it for. And like, I've since spoke to the club, right, and about doing more events, and the first thing I said to them was, yeah, but I don't want a. So, like, say for example, if you're promoting, you're taking the door, or you're taking a fee, or I mean, like you're taking a percentage out of the door, or whatever your agreement is. I was on them kind of deals, so obviously I was making good money every week off the bar, off the door. I just said, pay me a flat fee to DJ, use the brand. I don't want it because I want to go turn up to DJ and enjoy that. I don't want to be, you know what it's like, and you know yourself when you run an event, like you can turn up and be thinking about the wrong things, and you have to, you know yourself, mate. If you've booked an artist for 10 grand. You're thinking, you can't, there's no denying as a promoter, you're going to be thinking, it's 10 grand on the line tonight. Whereas I wasn't talking them numbers, but I'm thinking, is the bar busy? Is the numbers right? I wasn't thinking, there's 200, 300, 400, 500, 6 people in front of me, let's make them dance. Do you know what I'm saying? I fell down the wrong path, but that's just life and just a lesson in it. So I've learned from that, and if we do it again, I'll do it completely differently. But I'm not going to go balls deep into it. I'm just gonna turn up and DJ and enjoy it, and if it so be it. Do you know what I mean? If it works out, it works out.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, I'll just
it's a stressful game.
Tell them it was James stuff.
Yeah. That's one thing.
Two key triggers to the ethos and James stuff.
The promoting industry is
another
by
different
far,
ball game.
It's just a whole different beast.
I kind of as well, like, you've got to be, you know yourself, you've got to be thick skinned for that shit. Like you have for DJing, right? But I think if you're going to go into promoting, that's just a completely different world. You're dealing with a different beast of people as well. Like, DJs can be divas, DJs can be a bit bitchy sometimes. Luckily, I've never really, except from a few old school DJs in our area, never really seen any negativity in DJing. Too much. But I think with promoters, I've probably seen more looking at things that you've been through, you know, with other people in the city and stuff. And I've heard horror stories in Leeds. I know what the politics are like. It's, you know, we've all seen it, and I just think, fair play to you boys for doing what you're doing, mate, because I don't think I've got the bollocks to do that.
I think, so
being honest.
One thing that I've learned over the last year, the illicit ethos. Is,
I've picked you up there.
Is, you know, we've done all the big bookings before, and don't get me wrong, we've 90% got probably the biggest booking that I've ever had the pleasure of being able to
say it off camera.
Yeah, so, but other than that, what I want to try and make the emphasis of illicit is either the music and booking people that
the right things.
Generally, people don't even really know who they are, but I think
that's better. Though.
And I want the residents to be releasing music consistently.
Say,
on
like
the
one, your resident team, they're all top lads, except Lewis Hawks.
Yeah, he's a little bit.
But they're good lads. But you've built that foundation of, like, you've got that respect there. Like with the residents, you've got good diversity, and not only that, they're all good in their own. It's a bit like what House Kids started with. We had good individuals, but I guess obviously we all kind of wanted a bit more of the. I think we all kind of wanted a bit more of the pie, and we all wanted to do our own things, and then it broke down when we was, you know, we wanted to do different gigs and stuff, and then there was that whole, oh well, if you're going to do House Killer, don't do this and don't do that, and that's why it kind of broke down. You know?
And that's so with illicit, it's about giving everyone a role involved in illicit. So for example, Ben, so we've got Suv doing all of the photography and cinematography side, because he's learning that side of things,
and he'll grow with your brand that way.
Totally.
Rather than getting someone in, you know, I know you've had Jack Collier, like, it was amazing, but he's great, and you probably will use him again for big projects, but I think to have someone in-house doing it and growing with you is such a... And you're also creating something for him. Like, his portfolio is growing with you.
Exactly. And, like, so we have Ben Straw doing the label. Yeah. Batty's doing all the merchandise stuff.
Cool.
Carl does all the ground promo
Carl
stuff.
Does what? Carl does... That's not what you said to
me. Carl does all, like, the ground promo work with regards to... You know, like you say, he's a social chameleon, so he's so he's organising the promo staff, the flyer staff, he's getting the paper tickets to them and stuff like that. He facilitates all that side of things, which gives me time to focus on not only illicit, you know, making sure everything's running smooth, but also doing Gate 5 at the same time. Yeah. So it just frees up that side. Otherwise, my head would just fry. Cause it's just
I think that's another skill in it though, because like that's where you're good, because for me, I'm not a control freak, but I just take everything on. Like, I can, if I was, like, for example, if I do the event, I did the artwork, the promo, I'd film the video, run the event and DJ, and then I'd turn it all around for the next day, and I'd just burn myself out. And it's, I think like, people will always see that I graft my tits off, you know, but at the same time,
it's
that's
so
not smart. That's not smart. That's
but
not
it's so
smart.
apparent you always graft.
It is, but do you know what? Like, and it's great, you know, but the smartest man in the room is not always the best grafter. You know, the smartest man in the room is the best management, the best time, who can manage their time best. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've also almost learned that as well. Like, again, dipping back into the mental health thing, being a grafter's not doing your mental health any good either, because you know, if you're grafting your ass off, other things suffer, your relationships, your family life, your social circles. And I've had all that, and you probably have, you know. But I think now I'm finding a good balance. And even just like this, like coming here to do this with you, in my head, probably 2 years ago, I'd have gone, oh no, because I've got to edit this video and I've got to make a track today.
Yeah.
But the thing is, why not? I'm catching up with you. I'm chatting to you, and obviously we might be able to give something good to someone who's listening. And it's just nice to do these kinds of things. So it's like your ethos has got to be right. There's the positive note to end on.
Yeah. So Rainey, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Cheers, bro.
Thanks for coming, mate. And
tell me about this 90% booking when the camera stops rolling.
Yeah, we'll do. So yeah,
I'll put it on Facebook tomorrow. Cheers, bro.